The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome along to the webinar today. I hope you're all doing well. I can just see we've got a few people filtering in, so I'll just let those people get in and get settled before we start things off. Before we move on to the actual webinar today, can I just get a quick sound and screen check? So if you can just let me know if you can hear me okay, and if you can see my screen okay, just drop a yes into the chat if you can, that would be great, thank you. Okay, that's great. I think everything is as it should be, and we are good to go. So we've got a few more people coming in now, so I'll just let those join, as I say, before we start things off. Alright, that looks like a decent enough number to kick things off with now. So, hello everyone, my name is Dan. I work here at Convertri. I'll just show you a picture of myself so you can put a face to the name. You may have come across me before if you're a member here with Convertri. I'm on the support team and I'm work in the Facebook group as well. So if you've ever had a support ticket answered or posted a post in the Facebook group and had a reply from someone in there, it may well have been me. If not, it's nice to meet you, and I hope today we can get things rolling so that you can hopefully improve your skills with Convertri. That's what we're looking to do here today. So on that note, if I could just ask you all to drop in the chat or in the question box the number which you feel you are comfortable with Convertri. So between 1 and 10, if you could just let me know how comfortable you feel with Convertri, with 1 being you're a complete newbie and 10 being you're an expert. Okay, we've got a nice mixture of numbers there. So we've got a 1, we've got a couple of 3s, we've got a 5, a 6. Perfect. So that's a really good mix, and that's sort of the level we expect on these webinars. So you're definitely in safe hands. And this page I'm showing you now is the sort of thing that we're going to build out today from scratch. So this is a simple opt-in page. So it's a simple lead funnel which will go from opt-in here. They can come to this page and add their name and email, opt into the list and want to download the lead magnet, and they'll then be taken to a thank you page where they can click download now to download the free report. So we're going to crack on with that to start with. After that though, we will be doing a little Q&A session, as well as I'll be showing you some of my favorite tips and tricks in the editor to save you time. And I'm also going to show you a really cool new feature that we've introduced to the app this week, which I think is going to change a lot of the way people use the editor, which is really cool. So without further ado then, let's start things off. I'm going to go into my campaigns and I'm in my getting started webinar funnel, and I'm going to need to make a new page. So I just click the new page button. That's going to load up all of Convertri's templates. These are all our pre-made pages, which you can use yourself if you want to use them as they are. You just click select and the page will be as it shows in the preview. If you want to edit them, that's completely fine. You can select them just like I've shown you here, and then open the editor and make any changes that you want to. I'm going to show you how to build a page from scratch though today. So I'm going to select the blue create a page from scratch button. And I'm just going to call it opt-in because this is going to be our opt-in page. So now I've done that, I've got my page in the editor, in the funnel, and I'm going now into the editor using that edit page button. So this is the Convertri editor. Here is the blank canvas because it's a fresh page. And on the left-hand side here, this is the elements toolbar. And this is where you use all the elements to build out your pages. We've got options up here as well relating to the page. And we've got save, preview, publish, and then the desktop and the mobile version, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So first thing I'm going to do is add my background image. So I've dragged the image over. And as you can see here, it's brought up a load of images. These are ones I've used in the past and uploaded into my account in the past. You can upload a new one here. You can make new folders. So you can see I've got folders on the left And you can also search directly from Pixabay. So we have a direct integration. So if I was just to search in Pixabay apples, we're in Convertri still, but it will go straight to Pixabay, load these images which are directly off their website. And these are all free to use. So Pixabay is a stock photo sharing website. These ones are free to use. You don't need a subscription with them or anything like that. You just need to log on and search for the image like so. So you can select one and then add it. I'm going to use one I've already uploaded before though. So I just go onto my home folder, scroll down to find the image, select it, and then click select. Now it's on the page. I want to make it set to be my background. So first I'm just going to close the properties. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it full width by using the full width double-headed arrow tool. That will snap it to the edges of the page like so. And then I can resize like so using the drag arrows. And that's going to now fill the page here. So I can now build out my page with this as my background. So once I've done that, I need to get some elements on the page. So I'm back to my elements toolbar and I'm using this time a panel. And I'm going to use the panels to create a type of header. So as you can see here, I'm dragging it like so to resize the width, or should I say the depth. And then I'm using the full width tool again to snap it to the edge. Once I've done that, I can change the color of it by going into element properties and then changing the background. Here you can see it's gray. So if I open the color picker, I can pick any color from here. There's loads of different shades, as you can see. And what I really love about this is that it's changing as I do this live on the page, as you can see. So I actually can compare different colors between each other. So if I like one particular shade, but as it starts to change, I'm not sure, I can go back to it. I don't have to wait for the changes to be applied. I can do that in real time. So that's a really cool design feature. I've also got my RGB values here. So if I do want to save a color, I can save these numbers and just copy and paste them into this box here for any other elements that I might want to use that color for. Once I'm happy, I'm going to click select. And now I've got this image, or this panel, should I say, above my image. I'm just going to make a clone of it. So I'm going to select it like so, use this clone button here, and then drag it down to the bottom of the page. So this is now a footer, and I've got my header here. So it bookends the page quite nicely. It's not a must for a page. Obviously, it is personal preference, but I like to have that just to give it a bit of a design tweak there. So the next thing I need to do is build out my form. As you can see here, I've got this box, which is where my form's going to go. If we go back to the original opt-in page, we've got this cool form where we've got our heading and our copy, and then the option to sign up. So to do that, again, I'm going to be using a panel, and this is going to be the background for my form. I'm going to position it on the page where I want it, and then resize it using the arrows like so. So I can move it around, and as you can see, we'll get some snap lines here to say if we're halfway between the top and the bottom of the page, and they're going to help you out when you're moving things around. So now I need to add some text to my page. I want to have a heading, obviously, and I want my main copy as well. So I'm going to use the text element, and I'm just going to type out my heading, which is 7 top tips for slimming without starving. And then I'm going to resize that so it fits. And I'm going to add just one more text element now to do the main copy. So we've got to find it hard to stick to a diet. Don't worry, so do we. And we've got these 7 top tips help weight by making simple changes like so. So this is just text really to describe what the lead magnet is going to be for and what it is that they're downloading or wanting to download. So it is important to have that. Lastly, we're just going to have a little bit of text to say enter your details here, and a piece of spam text as well, which basically just lets the users know that their details are safe with us. We will never spam you. Now, this isn't like a legal requirement or anything like that. It's really just to reassure your users that you're going to keep their details safe and you're not going to do anything malicious with them. And I do think it's quite important to have, especially in this day and age. Some people are a bit funny about giving personal details like an email address or any other contact details like their name. So it's just a nice thing to have here, just to reassure people, because they are obviously opting in with their details. So I would recommend that. Lastly then, for the form, we just need some form elements. So we're selecting this, opening up the form elements tab, bringing the first name one on, bringing the email one on, and also bringing the submit button on, like so. So our form is on the page now, but we want to make some changes to it so it's looking a bit better. First thing we want to do is change the font of the text. Now I'm going to use my page settings here to set up my default text styles. So if I click page and then go to default text styles, you can see I've got options to set styles for my paragraph text, my heading 1, my heading 2, and even hyperlink text. When you add a text element to Convertri, it's automatically set to paragraph. So you'll see when I change the font here, this bottom piece of text is going to change to match that. So let's choose our font. We can use Lato. And if you watch closely at the bottom there where the text is, you'll see it changes. We can keep the size at 16, and we'll just up the line spacing to about 1.5. Okay, so you can see these changes have been applied now. When I click on the text box, you'll notice I've got this more option up here, and this is where I can choose whether it's paragraph 1, paragraph heading 1, heading 2, or if I've added a hyperlink to it, it will be the hyperlink text. So we want our heading here to be a bit different from our main copy. So I'm going to go and set up a heading 1 text style. So back to the default text styles tab, I'm going to choose a font that stands out a bit. So we'll go for Noto Sans, make it bold. We'll drop the size a little bit to about 24, and that should be fine. If we click done now, you'll notice though that this hasn't changed, and that's because we haven't set it to be a heading 1. It's still set to be paragraph. So we highlight the text, click more, change it to heading 1, and you'll see it's updated behind us in the editor here. Now, just because you've got default text styles, it doesn't mean you can't make edits to individual text elements. Let's take this enter your details one, for example. I don't really want it to be the same size as my main copy. I just want it as a little note above the submit elements, etc. So I'm going to change that to be about 12, like so. And I'll do the same then with my spam text as well, because it's just a little note really. So this is looking pretty good now. It is still slightly skewed though. Things are not really lined up, which isn't something that we want. So I'm going to change that as well. But firstly, I'm going to just update the fonts on my form element options to match my main copy here. So you can see it's still on Roboto. So if I go to element properties, go to my input properties, I can then change the font family here. And I'm having to do this because it doesn't update, the text styles don't actually update for the form elements as well. They are just individual elements, so you need to change the settings for those. I'm in button settings now, make sure that sign up mode is selected. Change my label from submit to download now because they're wanting to download something. And then again, I'm changing the font this time. We'll match it up to our heading. We'll go bold, and again, we'll go about 24. Like so. So I'm pretty happy with the look of that now. As I said, I want to just align it properly. So I'm going to select my panel. As you can see, all the items are contained within this panel. So if I move it around, they're going to come with it, which means if I apply alignment settings to the panel, it also applies to the elements contained within it as well. These are our alignment settings here. If I hit the drop down, you can see we've got a variety of choice. So to do this, I'm just going to select center align. That's going to snap everything into the middle, like so. And then I'm just going to select the download, the email, and the first name options because they are 3 form elements. And I'm going to shift click to select them like I've just done, go back to alignment, and then distribute vertically. We'll put even space between them. You can see here we've got a little bit of space because we've got our text elements a bit longer than it should be. So if we change that, select it again, and just make sure it's center aligned, that will line itself up nice and neatly. So the last thing I want to do with our form then is just go to element properties and background And then I'm just changing not the color, but the transparency on the right-hand toolbar here. I'm dragging it down so it's a little bit see-through, but I can still read the text. Hitting select, then going back, and I'm using the border to add a border radius. So I'm going to turn this toggle on so that it's the same radius for all corners, and I'm going to change it to about 20. So I can type it in, or I can use the arrows here like so. And that just gives a nice rounded look to our panel. So our opt-in page now is looking pretty good. We've got everything set up nicely like so. We just need to add a privacy policy here at the bottom. So to do that, we'll just add a piece of text. We'll just write privacy policy, and then we can link this, hyperlink this by highlighting using the hyperlink button and then adding our link in here. So I'm just going to add the Convertri privacy policy one, which I think is just that. And I'm going to make sure it's set to open in a new tab, purely because if you've got links on your page like this, you don't want people to get lost on them. So if someone clicks my link and I don't have this setting on, they're going to go to the privacy page, but the opt-in page has now disappeared from their browser. They don't have it open in a tab. So by doing this, what I'm essentially making sure is that they don't forget about the opt-in page, which is of course the most important page because that is where you obtain their details. So we've hit save now. I'm going to just resize this. And I'm then going to click on my alignment, and again, this time I'm using to page center, like so. So our desktop version is ready to go then. I'm just going to switch into mobile to check everything's looking good here. So this is the mobile version of the page, and this is Convertri's automatically generated version. So you can see it's built out nicely for us. We haven't got to change anything here. If we wanted to change something, we could move around text, so swap it around for our heading. And that won't actually affect the desktop page. If we go back, you can see it's in the same place. And to make our changes go away, we can just hit remobilize, which reruns the automatic mobile conversion, like so. So I'm happy with that. I'm saving my page now. I'm not going to publish it just yet because I need to set up my thank you page first. And that is what I'm going to do just about now. So go back to my funnel. And I'm going to click the 3-dot menu here. And I'm going to hit more, and then I'm going to hit clone. Once I've hit clone, it's going to ask me to give my cloned page a name, which I'm going to call thank you. And now I've got this page, I can open it up in the editor and we can make some minor changes to it. But we've kept the style consistent. So this is something that's really important if you're making funnels or websites. You want to have a congruent style. So I think it's important to use the clone feature in that way to make sure your design is similar across all your pages. So I'm going to make a few changes. Things that I don't need are going to be lost. And those things are basically most of the form. So we can get rid of our first name, our email. We can keep our download button, but we don't need the spam text and we don't need the enter your details anymore. And we can change up the copy as well because we've already told them what the lead magnet is about. So I can get rid of that and I can just write something like, click on the button below to access your free guide to slimming without starving. And that basically makes sure that our users know exactly what they have to do to get their download, and that is click on the button. So I'm moving the download button up now, and I'm just resizing this so that it's not got excess space. And then I'm just going to make sure that I've got my this aligned to the page center by again using the alignment tool to page center, not to page center, sorry. I want middle aligned, so I'm aligning it, and I'm aligning the center align of the elements within the panel. So I've got that set up now, which is perfect. If I check my mobile version, one thing I might want to do is drag down this image, and I'm going to do that by holding Shift and dragging it like so. And what that will do is it'll move down the bottom panel as well, and I can now reposition this like so, so it would fit the whole mobile screen then. So if I save that, I'm happy with that. Go back to my desktop though, because I need to set up my button so that it is actually downloading the file when it's clicked. To do that, I'm going to go to button settings, change the mode to download, and then I'm going to attach my file by clicking select file. And you can see I've already uploaded it in the past, so it's here. It's worth noting individual files are limited to 40 megabytes. If you have a file that's larger than that, you won't be able to upload it directly into Convertri. However, you can change the mode to link, have the file hosted elsewhere, somewhere like Amazon S3, and then add the URL to the link like so. So I'm clicking 7 top tips because this is my PDF. I'm selecting it and you can see the download file is here now, which means that when someone clicks this, it will be automatically opened in their browser. So I haven't turned on force download on click, which means it doesn't download directly to their computer. What I've done is I've left that off so it will allow the browser to open the file according to the user's settings, and then from there they can save it. One thing I want to do before I publish is change the background from blue to, we'll go with like a mint green. I think that looks all right. And it's quite bright and stands out nicely. Okay, so I hit save and now I can hit publish. I'm going to give my page a path. So danielrahili.convertri.com is my root domain, and then /thank you is going to be my path. So I'll hit publish. And I've got a question in the chat from Deb, and she's asking, where did I say we could store your PDF? So if you upload it directly to Convertri using the file option here, and then it will be stored in this area. Or if you want to have it hosted elsewhere, if it's larger than 40 megabytes, I'd recommend a service called Amazon S3. They're basically a self-hosting, so it's part of Amazon, and they run like a little self-hosting service where you can have your files stored if they're quite large. I think you have to pay a subscription fee monthly. I'm not too sure how much that is. I imagine it depends where you are in the world as well. But yeah, it's worth a look. I'm sure there are other options out there as well, but that is what we recommend. Once you do have an Amazon S3 account, and if you upload files there, well, basically you'll get a link for each file, and then if you change this mode to link, instead of it being the option here for the file, it'll be the place where you put your link. So that's where it goes. You're quite welcome. That's no problem. So I'll save this again. I've published it now. If I go back to my funnel, what I can do now before I go, so you'll see I've got this red exclamation mark. That's because I've saved the page, but I haven't published the latest version because I made a save after I published it. So it's still published, but I haven't published the latest version. But that's not a problem. It's still going to be live. I'm going to use this arrow tool here to connect the two pages. Now, this hasn't actually done anything in practice yet. I mean, we haven't even got the page live here, but it tells Convertri that these pages are connected. So when I set my form up with my autoresponder, it's going to use the link for this page as the automatic thank you redirect link, which is quite useful because I don't have to remember the URL. So I'm going to go back into my opt-in page now because I still need to set up my form. Even though the page is ready and good to go, at the moment there's no way for me to store these details. There's no form on the page, so nothing will happen when this is clicked. To set up the form, I just go to the Forms option in the top menu. I then hit Autoresponder, and I'm going to use MailChimp. You can see we've got a variety of choice here, and we have direct integrations with all of these. So if you have an account with any of these, you'll be able to connect it to Convertri, and that's how you get your lists connected. So if I click MailChimp, search for my target, I'm going to use this one because it's one I've already got set up. And this is the place where our details, our prospects details, are going to be added inside of MailChimp. You can see we've got field types here. These are quite important because they actually need to match up the field types applied on the elements here. If they are different in the forms menu and in the element properties, then Convertri won't know where to pass the information to, so it will get lost. So you can see first name I've got here, the type I've chosen is first name. Email is a fixed field, and that is email here. And then I can click next. Once I've clicked next, I'm going to get to my thank you page URL. You can see here it's chosen it automatically from the suggestions box, and I want it to redirect, so I'm going to leave this toggle off. So this is where we're going to end up once we've submitted the form. I've got another question in the chat here, and Deb's asking if we still have to keep our email responders. I'm imagining that you mean once you've got a Convertri subscription. And if that is the question you're asking, you don't have to. You can use autoresponders with Convertri if you want. We do have an in-house email notification system. You have to configure your email though and turn this on in the forms menu. And what happens here is when you get a submission on your form, you'll receive an email direct to this email which is set here. and it'll be with all the details that the form has submitted. So you can collect information that way. However, you would have to then manually store it or manually make note of it and find a place to store the information. You'd also have to, once you've done that, you'd also then have to reply to the email manually by taking the email address that they've submitted. If you reply to the email direct, it will send a reply directly to Convertri's support team. So you'll need to take the email from that form submission and create a new email to reply to any submissions. But if you want to use that, that's perfectly fine. We've also got autoresponders, as I say, so you can choose from this list here. Okay, so we've got this set up now, so I'm going to click done. And our form is now set up and we are good to go. All I need to do now is publish the page. So I'm going to hit publish. I'm going to call this opt-in. Hit publish, and you can see it's already taken on the current domain. So I'm going to change this to opt-in GS, which is just getting started. I'm going to hit publish, and that's going to be our URL. So once the page is published, you can see it's spinning up here. It's not published yet. Now it's published. I've got the green publish tick. Can view my page. Can see how fast it loads, even with this high quality image. And you can see now I can submit my form like so. Hit download, sending the form. That's gone now into my MailChimp account, and I've got my 7 top tips for slimming without starving. And if I hit download, the download will actually now occur. So you can see here is the guide, and this has actually now been opened in my tab because these are what my settings are on my computer. So there you have it, guys. That's a simple lead funnel built from start to finish. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful, and I'm happy to take any questions on that demonstration now. If you want to ask anything more generally about Convertri, if you could save that to the end, that would be fantastic, just so we can keep things moving nice and smoothly. Okay, so it doesn't look like we've got any questions on that. We do have a question whether or not this will be recorded. The webinar will be recorded. We usually get the replays up by the following Monday. So just look at the calendar here. Monday the 12th, and that should go into the knowledge base there, and you'll be able to access it from there. So yeah, a few days and we'll have the recording up, no problem at all. Okay, so I'm now going to show you some editor tips and tricks. These are a few little neat shortcuts in the editor that I think will really help you when you're building out your pages. And I'm also going to explain to you guys how the mobile algorithm works. So you saw earlier that we've got here the mobile version. If we hit remobilize, this is the automatic version that Convertri generates. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and it's really important to understand, because I'm going to tell you guys how to build out a page so that it mobilizes well and you don't really have to make any changes to it, which obviously saves you a lot of time. So first thing I'm going to show you then is how to delete entire sections. To do that, you just select the section you want. You can see I've got this panel here, I've contained it. These are all contained within the panel. I want to get rid of this whole section, not delete the elements one by one. All you need to do is click the delete selected icon here, or delete on your keypad, it's fine as well. If I hit that, this is now gone. We don't have that section anymore, and I now have an area of white space on the page. So I don't want the white space on the page though, so another little tip I'm going to show you is how to get rid of it. And to save myself moving my elements up manually, all I need to do is select the element below the white space and then click remove white space above, and that will snap that element up to the next one above it, as you can see here. Now, you can't actually see on your screen at the moment, or I can't even see on my screen, where my elements start and finish. So to find that out, I'm going to go to display, and I'm just going to turn on element outlines, and that shows me where each element starts and where each element finishes. This is something I'd really recommend if you're new to Convertri, because it helps you understand where things are on the page, and it just gives you a bit more of a feel for things when you're just getting started building pages. So display and then element outlines will give you those pink outlines around your elements. So I've shown you how to remove white space and how to delete a section, but what if I want to create some space on my page? What if actually I do want to put something in between these two sections? To do that, I just select the element I want to move down, hold shift on my keyboard, drag it down like so, and as you can see, everything else is moving with it. And it's also pushing the rest of the page down as well, which means I don't have to move each section individually, or they don't get overlapped, which is really useful as well in these scenarios. So now I've done that, I've got some space on the page. I don't want that there though, so I'm just going to click undo, and that will undo the last change I made in the editor. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you shortcut wise is how to clone elements without using the clone button. It's really simple. All you need to do is select the element you want to clone, click Alt on the keyboard or hold Alt and then drag like so, and you'll get a clone of your element. That's quite useful if you're working on the bottom of the canvas and you don't want to select the element and scroll all the way up. Might sound like nothing, but it does save you a few seconds here and there, which every little second helps, and I know how important it is to save time. So little keyboard shortcuts like that are quite useful to know. Okay, so moving on now to talk about the mobile version and how we can build out this page so that it mobilizes well. If we look at the mobile version, you can see I've already rerun the conversion, so I don't actually have anything to do here. This is the automatic version of the page that Convertri's generated. Now, it looks pretty good. You know, things are in order to an extent, but if you notice up the top here, you can see that we've got our 3 headings are lined up one after the other, and our 3 pieces of text are lined up one after the other as well. Now, this isn't really how we want the page to look, because if someone wants to read about bread, it should really be underneath it where they read. They shouldn't have to scroll down further. So these should be coupled with their corresponding texts. Now, the reason this has happened is because of Convertri's mobile algorithm and the way it reads the page. Now, it reads the page as if it's reading a book. So it comes along and it reads the first element it sees from left to right. So in this case, it's on this row here, it's the background panel, this one here. Then it reads the logo. We are open 24/7, and then it reads the image. Then it's going bread, pastry, coffee, and then the text about each one, which, as you can see, is the order that it's been put on the mobile page. So how can we get it so that we have our page built out like so? It looks fine on desktop, don't get me wrong, there's no problem with this, but we also want Convertri's mobile algorithm to realize that these are coupled and that they need to be displayed together. Well, the way we can do that is by using panels. Panels are really useful in Convertri, and they're going to be able to contain elements, which means elements within the panel are going to be treated as one. So if I add a panel to this page and resize it, like so, it's in front of the text at the moment, so I can send it to backwards, so I can use send backwards twice, like so. And that is going to give me my containment panel. So you can see it's now containing these elements. This is also where the outline's useful, because I know they're definitely contained within it. I'm going to add another panel for my pastry. Like so, send backward again twice. And finally for the coffee. So these are all contained now. I can change the color of the panel if I want to. I'll leave the first 2 gray so you can see where they are, but I can make it white if I want to so it blends in. Once I've done that, if we now go back to mobile, you'll see that if we actually go to desktop and then make sure that these are all connected together fine, like so. And if we just get rid of this panel here, so it's our normal page, go back to mobile, and just like that, you can see they've now been grouped together. So these are now automatically, we haven't had to do anything here. This is the automatic version. They're now grouped together. So that is how to use panels to build out pages that really mobilize well and are really going to help you save time in the editor and also stop you from having to move things around in the mobile editor as well. So that's a really good trick. I hope that has helped you guys out. It's really important to remember your containment and your panels when you are using Convertri, because it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to also just make things easier for you to move things around on the page as well. So does anyone have any questions about any of the shortcuts that I've just shown you there, or about the mobile version of the page at all? I'll be happy to cover those now. I can see your question, by the way, Brian, and I'll get to that shortly. Funnily enough, that is actually the new feature that I'm going to show you actually covers your question. So I'll talk about that in a second. But any other questions that anyone has about that specific shortcut demo that I've just shown you there, if we can get those in now, that would be great, and I'll cover those, and then I'll move on to the new feature section of the webinar. Okay, we've got a question. It's actually a very good question, which does get asked a lot. Someone's asking what these blue lines here are for on the page. Now, if you notice when we published our page before, so let's just go back to our thank you page here, they don't actually appear on the live page. They are in the editor, however, and that's because they are guidelines. So if we go to display, you can see we've got guideline width here. Now, if I change this to use the arrows, you can see they're getting wider, like so, and then I can restore default. What these are is essentially they're the safe spot on the screen. Now, they're quite conservatively set, so 960 is quite a small screen size width-wise. So if you wanted to change it to like 1280, most screens are going to be that size, which it basically just means everything within the guideline will definitely show on the live page. It doesn't mean to say if we put our image outside of it, it wouldn't show, because they actually don't have an effect on the page, but they're just a visual aid for you when you're building your pages. So I hope that's answered that question all right there. Okay, so there don't seem to be any more questions about that demo, which is perfect. That's no problem at all. So I'll go back now, exit out of my page, and I'm just going to go into the opt-in page. Actually, I'm going to go back to this page because it'll probably be better to show you this new feature on this page because there are quite a few more elements on it. So this feature is something we've been working on for a while now, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys because we're really proud of the work that's gone into it, and we think it's going to be really helpful for all of you when you're building pages in Convertri. The feature that I'm referring to is our element tree feature, and basically what it is it shows you an overview of all the elements you've got on the page in a really clear format so you can see them all. I'll show it to you now. The way to access it is to go to display, and then the element tree here, you just turn the toggle on. And as you can see, we've now got this element tree. I can move it around, and you can see it's got my main page and all the elements coming off of it. All of these panels then open up to show you the containment, what's contained within it. So if we drop that down, these are the elements contained within it. I can select the panel here. That then selects the panel in the editor as well. So I can then go into my element properties and change things, or I can just move the items around like so on the canvas. But selecting it is just by clicking on it. So Brian, to answer your question, just for anyone that can't see Brian's question, he's asking if he's got an element that's been sent to the back, how can he then select it, as he only seems to be able to select those in front of it? And that is a perfectly good question. So let's take let's do an example of that for you now. So we've got our logo text here, as you can see. If I put this above my image and then send it backwards, like so, I'm sending it backwards, backwards, backwards. Or if I send it all the way to the back, let's say, so that our image is above it. You can see now when I've clicked off it, our image is above it. How am I going to select that image without actually knowing it's there, without moving how am I going to select the text without moving the image around? Well, what I can do is I can hit select text like so. And if we locate the image, the text in the element tree, as you can see, if I just drop down the above the fold, I'm hitting select my text. And as you can see, it's now selected in the editor. So you're not going to be able to move it around because it's obviously still behind that image. However, you are going to be able to, once it's been selected, like so, you're going to be able to use the tools to bring it to the front, like so. If I then deselect, it's now in front of the image again. So you'll be able to retrieve that image, Brian. You just need to use the element tree. So display and then toggle the tree on like so, and that will give you a list of all your elements on the page. Just make sure you locate it in the tree. Once you select it, it will select it in the editor as well. And as you can see, it's selected this one. And you'll then be able to access it and move it back to the front if you want to, or edit it using the element properties as well. I hope that's answered your question there, Brian. Just to focus a bit more on the element tree now and what else it can do, you can see these three icons here. This one is this one is start visible or hidden. So if I click on this, that will change the setting here to start hidden. It's got the strike through, so you can see it's now starting hidden and now it's starting visible. We've got our show on desktop or mobile, so you can access them here as well. If I select this element here and click to turn it off so it shows only on mobile, I hit like that and it's now only showing on mobile. It's grayed out, you can't see it on desktop. The same for mobile. If I turn that off, it's still on desktop. If I go to mobile though, I'll get this little error because you can't see this element because its visibility is not switched on in this design mode. If I turn that off like so, you can see it reappears. So that is the elements tree in a nutshell, guys. I hope that you think it is as cool as I do. I really think it's going to help a lot of you using the editor, and just finding out where your elements are if they do get lost. It's easily done. If you're moving things around, you can lose them. You can have things put in front of them. It's easy done, and I've done it plenty of times. So that's why I'm quite excited about this, because I know it's going to really benefit a lot of people. Okay, so we have come to the end of the webinar now, guys. The demonstration has finished. I'm happy to open the floor up to any questions you might have on anything Convertri related at all, and I'll do my best to answer them for you in full. So just get your questions in, guys, and then we will start answering them. Okay, so Deb's asking how she can change her social share image. So when she shares a page to social media, the page image doesn't show. So if I go back to my editor, there is a setting for this in the page settings. I go to page, and then if I go to meta info, you can see we've got our texts here, and we've got social settings, and I can change my social media image. I can upload one of my own. So that means when I now share this page on somewhere like Facebook or Twitter, I can actually choose the image that's displayed, or if it's on Google as well. So that's how you change that, Deb. The best place to learn about migrating domains, if you're looking to add domains into Convertri, we've got articles in the knowledge base about it. So for any of you that don't know, we have a knowledge base, help.convertri.com. If you type in domain, loads of articles here on different things about domains. Full walkthrough on setting up custom domain is probably what you're looking for. I'll add this link into the chat, and that will take you through adding a custom domain into Convertri. So that's really going to be helpful. So that's help.convertri.com. I'll also add this link into the chat as well. That's our knowledge base here. And obviously, we do also have a Facebook group. If you're not aware of that, guys, we have a Facebook group here, the Convertri Clubhouse. It's a great tool for Convertri users. It's got 6.5 thousand members. We have staff members in there. We have power users, people that have used Convertri to make six figures, sell websites to clients, and build really, really cool funnels. You can see we've got people asking questions, Neil's replying, other people are replying as well. It's a great place to be, to learn about Convertri and to share ideas. And the best thing about it is there's loads of different users in there of all abilities. So there's no way you're going to feel like you're behind or anything like that, or competing, because everyone is so lovely and will always help you out. I've dropped that link in the chat as well, guys, if you want to join it. We approve all invitation requests, or all join requests, I should say, the next morning. So you'll get in there in no time. Okay, so I can't see any other questions coming through, so it looks like we are finished up here, guys. I hope you've really enjoyed the webinar. It's certainly been a pleasure presenting to you guys, and hopefully you've learned a lot about Convertri. If you do have any questions after the webinar has finished, feel free to ask in the Facebook group if you managed to join this evening, or you can send us an email at support@convertri.com, and that is where we have our support email staff. They'll be manning the desk pretty much 24/7. We have someone covering it at all times, really, across the world. So it's a really great place to ask questions as well. If you have anything you need to find out about Convertri in general, or if you have any page issues at all, send the details to support and we'll be able to help you out. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all very soon. And you're very welcome for the help. See you later, guys. Take care.